In just weeks, the Supreme Court will hear 3 days worth of arguments on the constitutionality of the president's health care law. So, if the court strikes down the individual mandate, the part requiring that every American have insurance or pay a penalty, can the rest of the law then stand on its own? That's what we're going to debate today with Carrie Severino, Chief Counsel to the Judicial Crisis Network, and Elizabeth Wydra, Chief Counsel for the Constitutional Accountability Center. Welcome to you both.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thank you, Shannon. Great to be here.
All right, Elizabeth, let me start with you. I mean, there are some who say if Congress wanted to be so secure on this issue of severability that the law could stand without that individual mandate, they should have written more language into the law. How do you respond?
Well, I think, what's really interesting about these arguments that the rest of the law will fall if the mandate is held to be unconstitutional require basically an admission that the mandate is constitutional. And what I mean by that is conservative Justice Scalia has held that once Congress has the power to regulate an instance of interstate commerce, for example, here banning insurance companies from discriminating against consumers based on pre-existing conditions, then it has the power to make every regulation necessary to make that initial Commerce Clause regulation effective. And so here you have the argument by opponents of the law saying that the ban on pre-existing conditions, for example, won't work without the mandate. Well, if that's true, and even the government acknowledges that that part of the law would fall if the mandate is held to be unconstitutional, then you've just made an excellent argument for why under the necessary and proper clause the mandate is constitutional if we want those popular provisions like the ban on discrimination based on pre-existing conditions to stay in effect.
All right, Carrie, I want to bring you in here. The constitutionality of the mandate aside, if it goes, what is your take on the underpinnings of the rest of the law and whether that framework can stand?
Well, the question the court has to consider is what would Congress have done if they knew this was unconstitutional? Would they have gone ahead and passed the law? And I think it's clear from the congressional record and the statements of the proponents of the bill, they would not. They called this the heart of the legislation. They said if you take it out, we'll gut and kill it. I don't know about you, I've never seen anything without a heart that survived very long. And for the court to go back and pick and choose what maybe Congress would have left this in and taken that out, that's really a legislative job. Let Congress go back and fix it if they want.
Elizabeth, who do you think would be the key justice or justices when it comes to this issue of severability? I mean, who do supporters of the law need to win over in order to win that point, in your view?
Well, I think the main issue of the day is going to be the constitutionality of the mandate, and I think that on those issues, I think you've got justices like Anthony Kennedy, who's thought to be the swing vote, and even conservative justices like Chief Justice Roberts, who I think will vote to uphold the act. So on severability, I think that, first of all, I think it's great we're having the arguments over this. The court is airing all of the arguments, being very thorough and careful in consideration of this very important law and the challenge to it by the states. But I think that, we're ultimately not going to get to the true question of severability because I think the mandate will be upheld as constitutional.
All right, Carrie, you've actually clerked at the court. You have a better understanding than most of us ever will about how it works there, the negotiations that go on, the consideration that happens. Who do you think are the key players in this decision?
Well, I think no matter what happens, it will be a close call, and it may even be a very fragmented opinion. I think people are right when they go down to Justice Kennedy as being the key vote. I think there are a couple clear votes on either side. I think you have probably an easy 4 votes among the more liberal members of the court in favor of this because we have justices who have shown a very positive attitude toward expanding the size of government and the scope of government. But I think it all comes down to Justice Kennedy. I'm encouraged because I think he has a very strong record on showing how the federalism principles and the limits on our government defend individual liberty. And I hope that Justice Kennedy will follow that through here and say that individual liberty is protected by having a government that remains limited in power.
All right, Carrie, Elizabeth, we thank you both for the very cordial debate today. We hope to see you again soon as we get ready, just weeks away from the big arguments.